Recently I had the opportunity to check out the AceMagic AM0 Pro and made a video about that, and if you want to check that out, of course link in the description. But today we have the AceMagic laptop. Let's discuss how it is and what I think about it, especially for the price. Already I can tell you in advance, this feels really well built for a set price. Let's dive into the video. So let's of course begin with the specifications of the AceMagic AX15, beginning with the CPU, which is the Intel Alder Lake N95 processor. You get 16 GB of DDR4 RAM, 512 GB of memory, which is an M.2 SSD, a 15.6 display with a 1080p resolution, and it is an IPS panel. It supports Bluetooth 5.0 and of course Wi-Fi is built in as well. And when it comes to the front-facing camera, first off you have a light indication, but it's 720p and 30 frames per second. And as you can see, quality isn't the greatest, and I'm really white. I am realistically as well, but this is really white. Also, of course, not the greatest quality as you can see. And in terms of battery, it's a 38 watt-hour battery. And while recording this video, this is sold for 359 euros, a link in the description by the way. But before we go any further, while this was sent to me, of course my opinions are my own and they are seeing this review at the same time as you are. Now of course a big question in general I always have when it comes to laptops is what can they do and who is it for? Realistically, you should see this laptop where you can easily do work on like your Microsoft programs like Excel, Word and so on. Binge watch videos with decent speakers that are comparable to a high mid-range phone, and take it with you on a trip to edit your pictures, because Lightroom does work pretty well on here. Though granted, it isn't the most color accurate display, but it will do its job fine. And of course you can play simple games on it, because of course this isn't a very powerful laptop, so don't expect it to play heavy intense graphic games. That is the simplest way I can place this laptop. And for that, it will do you perfectly fine. And some things I want to note is that I think for the price the build quality is solid. It feels nice and it uses a metal design. And if you wish you can also put the display pretty flat as well. Not to mention that we do have a numpad, which is something that I really love having. I hate it when I don't. When it comes to the display itself, it's of course Full HD, which is perfectly fine. Having a high resolution would make of course battery life harder to manage. The brightness is fine as well, and it does get pretty dim. While it isn't the most color accurate display, I'm comparing it here to a display that cost me over 300 euros and is a display alone and doesn't have any function beyond that. And because of this the price comes to mind again, because for the price I think it does well. And if you do wish to connect it to a proper display, you of course do have HDMI support. Talking about ports, let's discuss those. You get 3 USB-A ports, a USB-C for charging and another USB-C. We do have an HDMI port as stated, and a TF card that supports up to 128 GB. And of course a headphone jack as well. Now there are comments that I have about using this laptop. I like the keyboard. The typing experience is actually quite fine with a decent travels on the keys. But if I would comment something, it would be about the trackpad. While the trackpad is quite large and it works well most of the time, it can be a bit fiddly, with it not always responding well with moving around. Now it is limited, but enough for me to notice it. And if you can, I would definitely advise using a mouse. When it comes to the battery, as stated, it's a 38 watt-hour battery, 5000 mAh, and it does have a good screen on time. But again, this depends on what you do and what brightness it is on. Watching videos on a lower brightness gets me great battery life. Play games on a brighter setting and of course result will be shorter. And then I won't be making those 8 hours that they claim. So again, it really depends on what you're using it for. But overall, this laptop has impressed me for the price that you are paying for it. So it really depends on what you are using this laptop for. So at the end, what do I think about the AceMagic laptop? Overall, I think it's actually quite nice. The build quality is really solid, and that's one surprising factor about this AceMagic laptop. But when it comes to performance, I will say if you want to play graphic intense games, this simply isn't it. It's not meant for that. And not to mention, it's not the price for that. This is quite cheap, and therefore the build quality is the surprising factor about this. When it comes to usage of this laptop, I think you can play easily simple games. You can watch your YouTube, Disney Plus and so on. It works really well for that. And I think there they've done a good job. Audio isn't the nicest. It's comparable to, of course, something like a phone, but not necessarily a high-end phone, more like a mid-high-end phone, if that makes sense. So overall, the audio quality is fine, but nothing really impressive. I think the laptop itself works well though, but it really depends what you are looking for in a laptop. Again, if you want to do simple things and even edit a little bit of pictures on Lightroom, here it will do well. Just don't expect it to play graphic intense games. Either way, let me know what you think about the AceMagic laptop, and of course if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe, like and comment and everything, and of course link it in the description for the laptop itself. And again, while this was sent over to me, my opinion is my own. Either way, have a good one and talk to you guys in the next